way, shape, or form because he is a monster.
An animal.
Yeah, well, I love animals, so a monster.
Deerfield Police. I heard a woman screaming and then a pop, pop, and it went totally silent. I called my other neighbor upstairs, and she is pregnant, and she does not answer.
In 2017, Tess Richey mysteriously disappeared in Canada after a night out at a bar with a friend. Days later, her mother's shocking discovery triggered an extensive investigation. In our first case, we will delve into the enigmatic events of that evening and the arrest that followed. Our second case explores the tragic story of Rhoni Reuter, an expectant mother and the wife of a renowned football player. Brace yourselves. We're stepping into the crime scene now. We're off to Toronto, the capital of Ontario, Canada, and its most populous city. Tess Richey, born in North Bay, Ontario on November 30th, 1994, grew up in a bustling household as the youngest of 5 sisters. Her educational journey began at New Norman School, where she aimed to make her mark in the airline industry. At just 22, Tess made a bold decision to move to Toronto to pursue her dreams. In April 2017, she successfully completed her studies in the Flight Services program. Despite receiving job offers from various airlines upon graduating, she felt it wasn't the right time to kickstart her career. Putting her travel passion on hold, she explored different part-time roles, picked up Italian, and sought out managerial opportunities. On the evening of November 24, 2017, Tess planned to spend time with her sister Rachel for emotional support following a recent breakup. They had a blast playing games and having dinner at Rachel's place. Later that night, Tess caught up with a high school friend she hadn't seen in 2 years. According to her friend, they had a night of heavy drinking at a bar and decided to take a walk down the street. At 4 a.m., Tess's friend received a message from his boyfriend saying it was time to go home, which led them to decide to leave. The next morning, Rachel tried to reach Tess through messages but got no reply. Growing increasingly worried, she contacted hospitals, checked their systems, and resorted to monitoring their shared Fitbit account to trace Tess's last movements. She also kept tabs on their mother's credit card transactions. Fitbit data revealed that Tess took around 300 steps after 3 a.m. and used the card to order an Uber ride. Tess requested the Uber precisely at 4:02 a.m., and even though the driver arrived at the pickup spot by 4:14 a.m., the ride didn't happen. Rachel shared this vital information with the Toronto Police Department, triggering a search based on the available clues. By November 27, Tess's family had dispersed flyers and posters around Tess's last known whereabouts. Their hopeful wait turned to heartbreak when her mother, Christine, unveiled the tragic reality. On the afternoon of November 29th, while Christine and a friend were searching near where Tess was last seen, they stumbled upon her body 2 blocks away from an abandoned house undergoing renovations. The sight was gut-wrenching for Christine, akin to looking into an open grave. On November 30th, the Toronto police delivered a somber announcement about the discovery of the body of 22-year-old Tess Richey. Initially, no signs of foul play were evident, but the authorities assured the public of their dedication to conducting a comprehensive investigation. Just 48 hours later, homicide detectives disclosed that they were looking into a male suspect, and we're in the process of confirming his identity. Despite their heartbreaking loss, the Richey family expressed frustration with the police, raising concerns about perceived oversights in the investigation. On December 10th, police released security camera footage depicting a man believed to be linked to the case. The person in the video subsequently contacted authorities, confirmed his identity and agreed to provide a voluntary statement. Despite being accompanied by his legal counsel, he chose not to answer questions, and his family also showed a lack of cooperation. Nonetheless, law enforcement remained determined in their efforts, focused on obtaining his DNA through all available avenues. In a crucial turn of events, the suspect's parents brought him food and drinks during a visit. Detectives seized an opportunity when he disposed of a water bottle in a recycling bin, which was promptly sent for forensic testing. The DNA extracted from the bottle matched samples found at the crime scene, leading to the issuance of an arrest warrant on February 5th.
Tess Richey was last seen on Saturday, November 25th, 2017, at approximately 3 a.m. She'd been down in the area of Wellesley and Church, attending a bar with a friend of hers. And while she was down there, she interacted with several people, one of which was a young man that she met up with at some point, who turns out to be our suspect. On November 29th, Tess was unfortunately located deceased by members of her family who were in the area searching for her. Sunday, February 4th, so yesterday at about 11 p.m., we were able to effect the arrest of the person responsible for Tess's murder. We're alleging that he's responsible. He was arrested for second-degree murder, and his name is Kalen Schlatter, K-A-L-E-N, this is his first name, S-C-H-L-A-T-T-E-R. He's 21 years old, and he resides in Toronto. He did appear today at College Park Courts, and he's going to be remaining in custody. He was remanded in custody.
The suspect, 21-year-old Kalen Schlatter, lived in a northern neighborhood of the city. According to the detective's investigation timeline, on the night of the incident, Tess and a friend had visited a bar before stopping at a hot dog cart where they encountered several individuals, including Kalen. After Tess's friend departed early via Uber, she stayed alone with Kalen for the rest of the evening. Surveillance footage captured Tess and Kalen walking north and entering an alley on Church Street, where the basement stairwell they used was later identified as the location where Tess's body was found. Approximately 45 minutes after entering the stairwell together, Kalen emerged alone, shedding light on the tragic events likely sparked by Tess rejecting his advances, ultimately leading to her untimely death. At first, Tess and Kalen were like strangers before the murder that led to Kalen's accusation of first-degree murder. His parents argued that there was no evidence the crime was premeditated or sexually motivated, making his arrest look unfair. Despite being known as a trouble-free guy in his neighborhood and studying to be a mechanic while helping his dad in construction, Kalen had a troubling fascination with violent pornography, especially non-consensual acts. After Kalen was taken to the police station, he was briefly placed in a cell while the investigation continued. Undercover officers pretended to be inmates and talked to Kalen for 3 hours. Unaware of their real identities, Kalen discussed being drunk that night and hinted at something concerning Tess, even mentioning, "Sometimes you have to push boundaries to see what happens," which was crucial for the police. The controversial tactic of using undercover officers in the cell to elicit incriminating statements raised concerns. Ultimately, on June 12, 2018, 2 officers were charged with neglect of duty and misconduct. Court records linked these charges to an emergency call made on the day Tess disappeared, to which they had responded. They failed to search important areas where Tess was last seen and omitted this information from their reports. As the trial approached, Kalen's past relationships came under scrutiny. Several women claimed he was forceful and had a keen interest in non-consensual activities. Prosecutors argued that Tess had rejected him, sparking a deadly reaction. Nevertheless, the reason Tess followed Kalen into the alley that night remained a mystery, and sadly went unresolved. Kalen's defense maintained that he had no motive to harm a woman he had just met. They argued that Kalen, who was secretly bisexual, misled the undercover officers in the cell. After 3 days of deliberation, the jury found Kalen guilty of first-degree murder. This conviction resulted in Kalen receiving a life sentence in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years.
Any way, shape, or form, because he is a monster.
An animal.
Yeah, well, I love animals, so a monster.
Before we dive into our next story, if you could take a moment to hit that like button, it would mean the world to us. A single click for you is a huge boost of encouragement for us. Rhoni Reuter, a 42-year-old woman from Deerfield, Illinois, was eagerly awaiting the arrival of her baby, whom she had already lovingly named. Despite sharing a 17-year relationship with Sean Gale, a retired Chicago Bears football player who was also the father of her child, they had never walked down the aisle. Rhoni and Sean first crossed paths during their college days in Wisconsin, and on the surface they appeared to be a happy couple. However, their peace was abruptly shattered on the morning of October 4, 2007, when one of Rhoni's neighbors made a frantic 911 call reporting hearing screams, loud bangs, and a crash, urging police intervention.
Deerfield Police. I heard a woman screaming and then a pop, and it went totally silent. I called my other neighbor upstairs, and she is pregnant, and she does not answer.
Before this call, another neighbor had spotted a slender African-American young man, possibly wearing a wig, climbing the stairs. Upon entering Rhoni's apartment, the police found her lifeless body in the kitchen, facing down. It was a heart-wrenching scene, with an ultrasound photo on the fridge serving as a stark reminder that Rhoni's baby was due in under 2 months. Rhoni had been shot in the arms and then fatally in the back of the head. The pathologist believed the fatal shot occurred as she courageously tried to shield her baby. Empty 9mm casings and 5 unused bullets were discovered next to her body. With no signs of forced entry or theft, the evidence strongly pointed to a deliberate and targeted attack, raising suspicions that the unborn baby might have been the primary target. As the investigation unfolded, a security camera captured a black Volkswagen near the building, arriving at 7:04 a.m. and departing at 7:55 a.m. Adding intrigue, an unsigned letter found in Rhoni's purse detailed Sean's alleged infidelities, referred to Rhoni's pregnancy, and accused Sean of pressuring his partners to terminate pregnancies. The letter contained a list of 16 women's names and phone numbers that Sean was allegedly involved with. Armed with this new information, the police sought to question Sean Gale to shed light on the case.
Listen, I've been getting calls from the media. This is Sean Gale. Was it Rhoni Reuter? Is he okay? What's the road? Rhoni and no, she's not. Who's that? I'm gonna call her parents.
Even though Rhoni loved Sean unconditionally, the police discovered that Sean had relationships with several other women. When questioned, Sean admitted that Rhoni was aware of his affairs. Dealing with the loss of Rhoni and their unborn child, Sean revealed that while he hadn't planned for the baby initially, he had grown excited about becoming a father. On the day in question, he mentioned sleeping in before heading to a coaching session. Later, around 9 a.m., he went for a haircut near Rhoni's apartment, just a short walk away, raising police suspicions. However, a neighbor reported seeing a person leaving Rhoni's place that morning who didn't resemble Sean, leading the police to consider the involvement of another person. There was no evidence suggesting ill intentions towards the baby from Sean. When asked about a potential attacker, Sean mentioned Monika Kurowska, a woman he had dated in the past. Monika, a Polish fitness model, had ended the relationship a year earlier. Sean suspected Monica of stalking him post-breakup, recalling an incident where she showed up at his house with blood on her hands, leading him to obtain a restraining order due to her erratic behavior. However, during interrogation, Monica denied any connection to Rhoni's death, providing an alibi of training a client with witnesses present that morning, which the police confirmed, eliminating her as a suspect. Monica did mention breaking a window in anger after finding Sean with another woman, leading to the end of their relationship, but denied involvement in the anonymous letters. Julie Fields expressed suspicions that steered investigators towards Marnie Yang, a widow and mother of 3, who had met Sean in 2005 at a Chicago conference where she worked as a security guard and dabbled in real estate. They started a sexual relationship after bonding over real estate matters. Investigations revealed Marnie's intense infatuation with Sean despite his other relationships, viewing him as her boyfriend and displaying possessive behaviors. Detectives discovered that Marnie had accessed Sean's emails, leading to suspicions that she was the anonymous letter author. Surveillance of Marnie uncovered a damaged computer disk and discarded bank statements, including payments made by Sean to other women, which were seized for further inquiry. Further investigations revealed that Marnie owned a firearm, a crucial detail that led to her arrest despite her claims of having the necessary permits and being able to provide the paperwork.
Whether to allow her wrongful conviction petition to move forward. Yang's legal...
The firearms were sent to Chicago for testing, where it was discovered that Marnie had attempted to make a silencer, a significant piece of information in the murder investigation. Rhoni had been shot multiple times, and although neighbors reported hearing loud noises, no one specifically mentioned hearing gunshots. Marnie's bank statements showed purchases of a book entitled How to Make Disposable Silencers, a hacksaw, and various tools. Consequently, Marnie Yang was charged with the first-degree murder of Rhoni Reuter and her unborn child. The prosecution argued that jealousy was at the center of the case, asserting that Marnie was fixated on Sean and saw Rhoni as a rival. The perpetrator intended to harm both Rhoni and the baby, as evidenced by the bullets hitting Rhoni's abdomen. During the trial, Marnie's daughter, Emily Yang, testified that her mother viewed other women as competitors. Christy Passion, a longtime friend of Marnie's and a key witness for the prosecution, revealed that Marnie had expressed concerns about Sean's interactions with other women and mentioned thoughts of harming him or Rhoni. Christy stayed at Marnie's house the night before the murder and felt a sense of foreboding. Marnie somewhat jokingly consulted Christy, who identified as a psychic, about the possibility of successfully harming Rhoni. After the murder, Marnie used a prearranged code to inform Christy of Rhoni's death. Initially dismissing the news as a prank, Christy cooperated with the police upon realizing the seriousness of the situation. During a recorded meeting at a restaurant, the police captured Marnie admitting to the crime, presenting the recordings at the trial. In her defense, attorneys argued the absence of physical evidence linking Marnie to the crime scene and criticized the police's narrow focus on her while overlooking other potential suspects. Nonetheless, Marnie Yang was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murders of Rhoni Reuter and her unborn child. Before we conclude this video, please be aware that the video on the left may be disturbing. It is recommended for adult viewing only. On the right, you'll find a playlist of videos that have been highly appreciated by our viewers.